Have you ever been in one of those meetings where everyone's talking over each other, but absolutely nothing gets decided, right? You're trying to juggle facts and feelings and risks and big hopes all at the same time. It's just chaos. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down a really simple but powerful method to bring some order to that chaos and turn that messy thinking into clear, decisive action.
The basic problem is that our brains are trying to do everything at once. We're processing information, we're feeling emotions, we're trying to be creative, and we're judging risk, all in the same thought. It's no wonder we end up confused and paralyzed. We aren't stuck because the problem is impossible. We're stuck because our thinking is completely unstructured. And Edward de Bono, the creator of this whole method, he put it perfectly. He said this mental overload oppresses us. It literally shuts down our ability to make good decisions. So the goal of the 6 thinking hats is to deconstruct that process. Instead of trying to juggle everything, we're going to tackle one type of thinking at a time. We're going to handle each piece with real clarity and purpose.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. This method creates a fundamental shift. See, most meetings devolve into arguments, right? We attack, we defend, our egos get all tangled up in our ideas. But this changes the game entirely. We stop arguing and we start map-making. The goal isn't to win anymore. It's to explore the entire landscape of the problem together. By playing a role, by wearing a hat, your ego just kind of takes a backseat, and suddenly your thinking becomes deliberate, objective, and so much more powerful.
So how do we actually start making this map? Well, we assign roles. I want you to think of each of the 6 thinking hats as a character in a play or an actor on a stage. When you put on a hat, you're not just being negative, you are playing the role of the critical thinker. It's a huge difference. So let's meet the cast.
First up, we have the white hat. Think of a blank white piece of paper, or even better, a computer. When you and your team put on the white hat, you have one job and one job only. Deal with objective information. No opinions, no interpretations, just the data.
The white hat thinker is all about the facts. It just presents the data as it is. But here's the key discipline, and it is so important. You have to separate verified facts from believed facts. So, sales were down 10% last quarter. That's a verified fact. But I heard our competitor is launching a new product. That's a believed fact. Both can go on the mat for sure, but they have to be labeled for what they are. It's all about that pure, objective information.
Okay, so next we switch gears completely. We go from the cold logic of the computer to the warmth of the heart, the red hat. And that color, red, is all about passion, emotion, and gut feelings. This hat gives a formal, legitimate voice to our intuition and our hunches. And this is the magic rule for the red hat. No justification is needed. You can actually say, you know what, I have a really bad feeling about this deal, or my gut is screaming that this is the right move, and you don't have to explain why. This is so crucial because it gets those feelings, those intangible but really important hunches, out on the table as valid data points.
All right, next up is the hat that is probably the most used and, let's be honest, sometimes overused in business, the black hat. Think of a stern judge's robe. This is the hat of caution, of critical judgment. It is the devil's advocate. But here is the critical distinction for the black hat. It is logical negative. This isn't about feeling bad about an idea. That's the red hat's job. This is about logically pointing out the risks, the flaws, the very real reasons why something might fail. It asks, why might this not work? The point isn't to kill ideas. It's to find the weaknesses so you can make the final plan stronger.
And now for the sunny counterpart to the black hat, the yellow hat. Think sunshine, brightness, optimism. This is the hat that deliberately looks for the value and the benefit in an idea. If the black hat is the logical negative judge, the yellow hat is the logical positive optimist.
Now, wearing the yellow hat takes real effort. It's not just sitting back and being passively optimistic. You have to actively seek value. You have to ask, okay, what are the benefits here? What's the absolute best case scenario? How could we make this work? This hat is the engine of constructive thinking, forcing you to find the value and feasibility where others might only see risk.
And now for my personal favorite, the most creative member of our cast, the green hat. Think of fresh green grass, fertile growth, new shoots popping up. The green hat is all about creativity, new ideas, and exploring brand new possibilities.
When you put on the green hat, all judgment is out the window. The only goal is to generate ideas, any and all ideas. You can be deliberately provocative. You ask questions like, are there other ways to do this?
What if we just got rid of this one constraint? What's a completely wild approach? The green hat is about movement and getting unstuck from our old, tired ways of thinking. So, we have our 5 thinkers: the computer, the heart, the judge, the optimist, and the creator. But who conducts this orchestra? Who's in charge of deciding which hat to wear and when? Well, that is the job of our final hat, the blue hat, the conductor.
The blue hat is kind of the meta hat. It's the one that thinks about the thinking. Like the cool blue sky, it sits above everything and provides the overview. When you wear the blue hat, you're not down in the weeds of the problem. You're directing the process. You set the agenda, you sequence the other hats, and you summarize what's been said. It's the hat that keeps the entire process on track and productive. Okay, now that we've met the whole cast, let's put them on stage and see them in action. We're going to run through a quick, practical example to see how a director, or, a team leader, can use these hats to solve a really complex problem.
Let's walk through this. Imagine you're the leader. You start with the blue hat to set the stage. Okay, team, our goal today is to decide on a new office location. Simple. Then everybody puts on the white hat. We just gather data: lease costs, average commute times, square footage. No opinions, just facts. Next, on goes the green hat for some brainstorming. Do we even need one big office? What about a hybrid model or shared spaces? After that, a quick red hat check-in. All right, looking at our top options, how does everyone feel? What's your gut reaction? Then we get analytical. First, the yellow hat to explore the positives. Location A would be amazing for recruiting. And that's immediately followed by the black hat to identify the risks. True, but the rent at location A is 20% higher. Finally, you, the leader, put the blue hat back on to summarize everything that's been put on the map and guide the team to a final decision. See what just happened in that example? There was no argument. There was no ego. Everyone simply contributed to building a complete, detailed map of the entire situation. And that is the true power of this method. It fundamentally shifts the conversation from a pointless argument to collaborative map-making.
This really brings us to the core of it all, and this quote just says it perfectly. Look, we all intend to be good, clear thinkers. But just intending it isn't enough. The hats give you the actual framework, the script, to turn that intention into effective performance. It gives you a role to play, and by acting like a clear thinker, you actually become one.
The main takeaway here is that this is a tool you can pick up and use right now. Think about the biggest challenge or the messiest problem your team is facing. Instead of arguing about it again, what would happen if you sat down and methodically put on each one of these hats? What kind of clarity could you find? So I'll leave you with that question. What is the very first map your team is going to create?